right, anger will explode in the Muslim world.
Once again, America is under threat by Muslims as the Ground Zero Mosque imam warns that if the controversial structure is not built, violence could break out. We'll take a look at it. The mosque controversy, combined with the threat to burn the Koran in Florida, has inflamed Muslims in Afghanistan. We'll have the inside story on that. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thank you for watching us tonight. The USA once again under threat from the Muslim world. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Speaking on CNN, Imam Abdul Rauf is warning America that violence may break out if the Ground Zero Mosque is not built.
But if we don't do this right, anger will explode in the Muslim world. If this is not handled correctly, this crisis could become much bigger than the Danish cartoon crisis, which resulted in attacks on Danish embassies in various parts of the Muslim world, and we have a much larger footprint in the Muslim world. If we don't handle this crisis correctly, it could become something which could really become very, 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 very dangerous.
Well, that sounds ominous, does it not? Now, I don't think the imam meant to threaten us, but the warning he is broadcasting could be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Already, anti-American Muslim agitators have whipped up some folks in Afghanistan, people who have no idea what the mosque controversy is all about. How do I know that? Well, many Afghans can't read. Many don't have electricity. So the delivery of news in that nation is in the hands of the propagandists. Back home, I remain willing to give Imam Rauf the benefit of the doubt, even though he is misguided in the mosque adventure. The imam himself may now understand that.
If I knew that this would happen, this would cause this kind of pain, I wouldn't have done it. My life has been devoted to peacemaking.
But the imam should have known. Come on, building Islamic community center just yards away from where Muslims attacked us? Do the math, imam. Now, if you would state, imam, that the center is being built to condemn jihad, to announce that Muslim extremism is evil, then I'd pick up a hammer and help you build, and so would everybody else. But that's not the stated intent. All we hear about is tolerance, and as Talking Point said last night, that should swing both ways. When a Muslim cleric announces to the world that members of his own religion might kill people because of opposition to a mosque, there's a problem. When a published cartoon leads to violence, there's a problem. That's what Americans are objecting to. The continuing threat from Muslim fanatics who will use any excuse to murder innocent human beings. If Imam Rauf and all other good Muslim leaders would unite against that threat, there would be no mosque controversy or need for tolerance, because we'd all be in it together. And that's the memo.
We have to be very clear about the nature of this enemy. There are elements in the Muslim world that are out trying to kill us and destroy Western civilization. Point number one. Number two, you listen to this imam. I find it amazing that we are being lectured to about religious tolerance from folks who wrote the book on religious intolerance.
But he hasn't. Rauf hasn't.
Oh, Bill, come on. This is the no-spin zone. This guy has radical ties. He refuses to condemn Hamas. He says the United States was an accessory to 9/11. He will not say where this money is coming from.
Well, he said
God
he
knows
now.
where it's coming from.
All right, so you think, wait.
When he
you
says,
think he's a radical guy?
I think
Rauf.
he has a lot of explaining to do about his positions on radical Islam, about a lot of the Islamist theology, yes. We need to understand is that there are two forms of jihad. There's the violent jihad like we saw on 9/11, and then there is the stealth jihad. There is infiltration to try to gain a foothold for Sharia in the United States. This man, this imam, wrote a whole book published in Arabic saying that that was the goal of the Ground Zero Mosque. He has yet to answer that question, Bill.
Okay. Now you say he wrote a book that said that was the goal of the mosque is to introduce Sharia law to the United States.
The goal of their particular book was, and in fact, the Arabic title of the book was Introducing Sharia on the Ruins of Ground Zero. What do you think this mosque
imam?
is?
Wait a minute. I didn't hear you speak out against this imam when the George
W. Well, wait, is that true or not? Is that true?
That's true.
He's a
he
Sufi
published
Muslim.
the same book with a different title in English, and this was the Arabic version.
So the Arabic version, the translation is introducing
Sharia on the ruins of Ground Zero. What do you think this mosque is all about, Bill? This is the stealth jihad. It's not. Nobody is worried about terrorism being launched from this mosque. What we are worried about is the stealth jihad.